Guys, it's Q&A Tuesday. First question comes from a gentleman whose question I've answered numerous times. DK, Roman, hope as well. I hope you can address my question at some point. Has AP shot itself in the foot by increasing prices twice this year? Here in the UK, 15,400 was 15K MSRP, then the 15,500 at 17K mid this year, and again they put the price up to 18,7K this month. All of a sudden I got offered the 15,500 and the chrono, and dealers don't want to pay over list except for the pieces with the blue dial. What's your take on this? Many thanks and keep doing what you're doing. Well, first and foremost, there are a couple of reasons why prices are changing in the UK, and that's due to fluctuation of currencies, right? That's number one. But for the most part, if you guys think that these companies like Rolex or AP or Patek are extremely happy about their stuff going over the list, they're really not. Yes, on the one hand, they are happy because their brand recognition is through the roof. Everybody wants a Royal Oak, everybody wants a Royal Oak Chrono. But on the second hand, what that does is it pisses off a lot of the ADs. It also creates this hype where guys go into the boutique and they buy this watch in order just to flip it. It doesn't end up on people's wrists, it ends up out in the market. Eventually a bubble is created and done, right? They're not extremely happy with it, but they're also very smart about it. They're seeing what's going on in the market. If you guys think that AP or any other brand out there has no idea what's going on out there on the secondary market or the gray market, you're absolutely wrong. They have their finger on the pulse just the same. So they know the market can handle those prices. When they start seeing these watches trading at a certain price, trading over list, they can bump up the retail prices. And again, they're not bumping them up by 50%, 18.7, right? So they bumped it up 10%. To me, that's a reasonable bump because they saw that the market can handle it. Because at the end of the day, they want to make money, right? It's a legitimate business that looks to stay profitable. So if they see the market can handle something, they will certainly bump it up. They did not shoot themselves in the foot because they're still solid. Anybody that gets a phone call today, at least in the US, for a new 15,500, they're going to go out there and they're going to take it. And some of them are still trading a little bit over list, not just the blue dials. Like we sold a gray dial, which sold over list, right? The new 15,500. And again, also remember, these things are just out of the gate. So they're hot, they're popular, everybody wants them. They have a waiting list for them. So if you have 100 people waiting on a 15,500 out there, bumping the price up by 10% is not going to take those people off the waiting list because they want the watch. So when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. So hope that makes sense and somewhat answers your question. Now the next question is from Mika Strader. Huge AP fan, own two, considering a Millenary 4101, but the market seems to be cool to this watch. Can you do a review wrist shot of the 4101? I have done a review of a 4101 in one of my What's on My Desk videos, but I'm sure I have one in stock. Let's see. Hey, do we have any 4101s here, or are they all at the show?
We have one without the strap.
Okay, bring it up. That's fine.
Okay.
So, Mika, hold that thought. She should bring this watch up shortly, and I will certainly talk about it as soon as she brings the watch up. In the interim, I'm going to go to next question from Pim. Hey Roman, great videos and thank you for staying the voice of common sense on YouTube. Question, do you check if the watches you buy, sell, are stolen? Paul Thorpe is making a move to get everybody working together against watch theft by checking numbers with the watch registers. Is this something you would support? Well, if you watch my last collab with Paul Thorpe, this is something I would support. And one of the key points that I mentioned for that is the only time a website like Watch Registry is going to be 100% legit and trustworthy is to have a vigorous requirement in order to be able to report a watch stolen into that, which would include original purchase paperwork, copy of the papers if you still have the papers of that watch, insurance claim if you made an insurance claim on that, an email to the companies stating the watch is stolen. It's only when you put all those things together can you consider that a legitimate source of checking for stolen watches. For now, I use the good old method, and I said it before, and that is know who I buy from. Because there's really no 100% way to cover yourself. The only thing you can do is buy from a reliable source to which you will have recourse with should this watch somehow come up stolen. For the most part, I do have some ways to call certain companies through certain dealers among certain brands, but there's really no 100% way. And if Watch Register that Paul Thorpe is talking about going to take the necessary precautions to do what it does, come on in, then I feel like we should be okay. The information is only going to be as accurate as the rigorous requirements you make in order to make the stolen watch report. So I hope that answers your question. And here's the 4101. Ta-da! Vanna White. Okay, so apparently we took the strap off of this one. or maybe the strap didn't come in yet. Sometimes I get watches in shit like this. So 4101, going back up to Amika's question, right? What do I think of the 4101? I think the 4101, when it came out a couple of years ago, was a breath of fresh air for the Millenary line, which seemingly the least popular line. The concept behind the 4101, we talked about this before, is that the inner of the watch was literally flipped upside down so you can sort of see the inner workings of the beautiful movement. I love the way they've been lately decorating their rotors. Look how beautiful this rotor is. Kind of going back to, you know, making not as highly decorative movements, but this certainly adds a lot to the movement. And the idea is that the whole watch is on display. That's the idea behind the 4101 line, where you literally have the entire watch on display. What I like about this watch is, once again, that I believe this is something that I wouldn't say fully revived the Millenary line, right? But it's something that sort of gave it a little kick in the ass to have people to once again start paying attention to the middle line. And I'm hoping they'll follow this up with something even more kick-ass. You have to remember, with AP being as popular as it is today, you're going to say, oh, it's just the Royal Oaks and Offshores. Well, guess what? Royal Oak and Royal Oak Offshore make up half the collection, right? You have Jewel, which is now code 1159. You have the Millenary, and then you have Royal Oak and Royal Oak Offshore, right? It's not like Patek that has 15 different collections, and the only thing that's selling is Nautiluses, really. So showing it on the wrist is kind of tough, but it's a large, dressy watch. Unfortunately, without a strap, you don't really see the effect. I do have a small wrist, but what I love about this watch is that it's an option for a large, dressy watch. Oftentimes, people don't want to have a 38mm watch that's dressy. They find it to be too small, especially when they go from a clunker like this. If this is a watch you're thinking about getting, whether you want it in stainless steel or whether you want it in rose gold, this is certainly a great dressy / sporty option, which at the same time sort of a heritage piece because it's meant to show off the inner workings of the entire watch. And why did it cool off? Well, it's very simple. When something is new and right out of the gate, you know, these things were selling for $18,000, $17,500, $19,000, you know, not a big discount. And as the market populated with them, it being the less popular model versus other ones, obviously the prices have slowly come down. It's absolutely normal, but you're still not out there buying this watch for less than half price. It's just not happening today because it's still an AP. It's a good looking AP. And at the end of the day, because it has the Millenary label, it's still going to trade for a lot less, but slowly but surely, I think pieces like this within different collections outside of Royal Oak or Royal Oak Offshore for AP is something that's going to help them propel some of their other lines with the help of the Royal Oak collection and the brand's popularity overall. So if you're thinking about buying this watch, don't hesitate. It's a beautiful watch. It's a great watch. Get out there and get yourself one. Call me. I have one. Here's a quick and easy one from via email, actually, this time from Mark. Love your videos and your style, big fan, thank you. Just recently bought a Rolex 114060, and I'll be traveling soon. Do you take your watches off and put them through the scanner with your stuff, or do you wear it through when you walk through the scanner? They always say remove all of your stuff before walking through the scanner, but I hate the idea of taking my expensive watch and putting it in the bin. What do you do? Honestly, I don't really have a primary reason to this. I'm not the guy that takes stuff off or not takes the stuff off. I guess it's just kind of random for me. If you're talking about the scanner, you're not talking about the typical metal detector scanner. You're talking about the scanner that goes around, right? When you put your arms on, it goes bzz, bzz, right? I have taken my watch off, put it in my bag or inside of my shoe, usually is what I do. But at the same token, I have gone through to the scanner. And usually when I keep my watch on and I go through the scanner, I'll have the watch on. And sometimes they tell you, if you say you have cash and you want to put it through the scanner, I'll take the money out of my pocket, I'll hold it in the same hand. And then when I come out, they simply look at this area because that's what comes up on the scanner. They take a look at it. Sometimes they ask me to take the watch off, flip it over, and I walk right through. I never really had a problem walking through. And then sometimes, like I said, I'll take my watch off and I'll put it in my shoe or something like that. But sometimes, you know, you get a watch that may be a bit sensitive, afraid it might get scratched, or one is getting bumped inside by other bags and things of that nature. I can certainly understand that. And in that case, really the best place to put it is inside your shoe or a bag that you may have with me. The only time where I really ensure that a watch stays on my wrist, or try to ensure the watch stays on my wrist, is again, if it's something super expensive, $500,000, $800,000, and something that's sensitive to, again, being bumped around, being dropped by, God forbid, or something like that, maybe a super complicated watch like a Tourbillon. And plus, there are watches out there that, even though every watch can take a beating, that are fragile in terms of cosmetics things. The other day, I traveled to LA with a TPT Skull. That's not a watch I would want put somewhere, because if something heavy came on top of that watch, another bag or something like that, it could certainly cause damage, and that's not a risk I'm willing to take. My Offshore, this thing is a beast. You can drop a suitcase on top of it, nothing will happen. Same goes for Rolex, by the way, which is what you have. So don't worry about it. Either way is fine. That's how I do it. But if you insist of not putting your stuff in there and you're going through that scanner, keep your watch on. They shouldn't say anything to you. And if they do, you say, I don't want to put my expensive watch through the scanner. You're welcome to take it off my wrist and run it through yourself, or check it yourself manually, not run it through. Hope that answers your question. I'm going to take one more from Kiki Fries. Kiki. Love the episode, but I have a question. If Mark Spitz had a limited AP Royal Oak named for him in the late 70s, how would that fare today? Most people don't even know of his great accomplishments back in the day, now that Phelps is on the scene. There will be another LeBron one day, and 30 years from now, people will ask LeBron who. Will that watch be a collectible then and demand a high price point? Your thoughts would be appreciated. Great content as usual. This is a great question, Kiki Fries. Is that like Kiki French fries? Sorry, didn't mean to troll your user ID. Mark Spitz, right? 1972 Olympics in Munich. Took 7 gold medals at the Olympics and all in record time. Arguably the Michael Phelps of the 70s, right? There are some individuals out there that will never be forgotten. Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, football, will never be forgotten. Pelé will never be forgotten. Maradona will never be forgotten as soccer stars. These are names that are going to live on for generations and generations to come. Much like a gentleman by the name of Genghis Khan that lived much, much longer ago. And yet till date, there's things being made to celebrate Genghis Khan. Whether he was a good person or a bad person is a moot point. That's not what we're here to talk about. Mark Spitz, not so sure. And guess what? Michael Phelps, also not so sure. Because swimming, yes, Michael Phelps set the world record on most gold medals won and so on and so forth, but it's still swimming. And I'm not knocking swimming. That's a really hard sport. It's extremely competitive sport. How many Olympians off the top of your head you can name going back, I don't know, 10 Olympics, that really stick out in your head and you say, oh my God, I remember this guy that did the javelin and this other guy that did the high jump and so on and so. No, it's very rarely that you get a Michael Phelps, right? These are names that I feel are only temporary. They're temporary until another record is broken, until another Olympic takes place, until another standout in the Olympics takes place. And the older guys that stood out in their time, like Mark, are somewhat forgotten, right? This is the people's side of it. Let's talk about the watch side of it. If Mark Spitz had, in 1972, at the time that the Royal Oak came out, had a limited edition 39 millimeters Royal Oak made for him, let's say an edition of 20 or 30 pieces, right? And it was the same Gel Genta Royal Oak, but with the guy's name on it, that watch would be through the roof right now because guess what? The 5402 original Royal Oak is super popular, right? It's super collectible, and that would make it even more collectible because it's a limited edition. But if at the same token they made a Jules Audemars to honor him, with Jules Audemars not selling today, not being the hottest thing, or the Millenary for that matter, then guess what? The watch would be a dog. There's even Royal Oaks out there. I remember the Nick Faldo Royal Oak, right? Or the Foundation Royal Oaks, which were limited edition for the Royal Oak Foundation from AP, a charity organization. Those things are not trading through the roof. You know why? Because they're 36 millimeters. They're too small. There are offshores, older offshores out there that are 36 millimeters. People call them ladies, they're actually men's. And they're also not trading through the roof because they're small. At the end of the day, it's not about just a human being, it's about what you put that human being's name on. That means that LeBron James today is an extremely good-looking offshore. And guess what? If it wasn't LeBron James, if it was a Michael Phelps, even though he's an Olympian and arguably not those names that are going down in history like crazy, it's still a hell of a looking offshore. That limited edition could have been a Roman Sharf limited edition, and it still would do well. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, it's about how good the watch looks. And to somewhat contradict myself, if it was the Millenary line today, or the Jules line today, or the Code 1159 line that was very, very hot today, I don't know how popular the LeBron would be if, let's say, the offshore was the least popular, right? And that's really what it comes down to. Yes, I will agree with you that Mark Spitz made huge accomplishment in the world of swimming. I'm guessing you're asking that question because you are into swimming or you follow swimming. This is a sport that you like. Where to me, yes, I was impressed by Michael Phelps' accomplishments, of course. It was cool to see an American do that. But that's just it. I'm not into competitive swimming. Now, take me to a baseball game. That's near and dear to my heart. So, again, there's so many variables in this thing. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing and one thing only. You can go to a restaurant. That's a hole in the wall, a complete dump. And the service is subpar. And a wine list sucks. But let's say they have the best steak in the world. You will care less for the fact that the staff is A-okay, that the decor is A-okay, because at the end of the day, you're getting a wonderful piece of steak. And that's what these names, these limited edition names on some of these pieces sometimes mean. They're nothing more but a fancy decor. But at the end of the day, the core of the watch, the brand of the watch, and the watch itself is so good looking that once again, if that IP LeBron said Michael Phelps on it, Mark Fritz, or anything else for that matter, it will do just the same. And that's the best I can answer your question, so I hope that helps. Guys, that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As usual, comment all your new questions below. I'll try to get to as many as I possibly can. Other than that, like, share, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you guys have been doing to help my channel grow, and we are growing. I'm thankful to you for that. Other than that, I'll see you guys next Tuesday.